But like little stuff, bro. Like I'm just still thinking about you falling down and being happy about it. It's still like wow.
It's an accomplishment.
That's
Check that
wow.
out.
When I wake up, I gotta warm up. I gotta warm up my knees.
Like,
Yeah.
you're in bed like this. Little bicycle.
Bro, if you see me wake up in the morning, you'll see me in the back in the room, like holding onto the wall, just like kickstart my knee, just like going back and forth, warming it up. And it's always the same one. And like I remember people have distinguished me from how I walk because of the little limp that I have in the left knee.
Oh, bro, that's
100%. Check Yasser. He was in the truck.
I know, but
Remember?
okay, go ahead.
He drove by and he saw a bunch of people in uniform working on the side of the road, and I was one of those guys with me, and he could tell it was me because of the way I walked. This is the side of the highway.
Oh, we got 75
Dude,
miles.
75 miles per hour, and you could see the limp.
said-
Like, and he was just like, and he's so nice. he honked, and I just like waved. And the reason why I waved is typically people will honk at us when we're in uniform because they're saying thank you for doing such and such. So I did
that's
that,
what you did.
and then I noticed the truck like after the fact. I didn't know it was him until after I looked at the truck going by. And then he tried, he's like a sweet guy, so he's like, oh, you don't say me how he has that swag in his walk, He said swag. I'm like, it's not swag, it's a disability. I'm a year away from McCain. You think I'm in a Lil Wayne video?
Can you imagine that? Oh, using that line of like someone who's in a scooter who's like vegetable, you got that school.
You got that swag. Oh, you got that. When he said that, I'm just like, you away. You know when someone is nice, but like they take it to a point where you're like, you can't even believe it, right? And then he's the opposite of other like friends I had in high school. Like some people are just like, oh man, Sammy, like this guy is so smart, and like they're just being super nice. But they say like stuff that you just like, no man, you gotta like you gotta tone it down. It's not real.
Yeah.
But it's the opposite. Like I remember there was friends in high school that would just say wild stuff, and I would just agree because of the shame. They would say, "Man, like you as well." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "I guess we both dressed bummy today." And I'm like, but in the moment you just say, "Yeah, man, I really didn't care about this event."
Yo, I wish if we weren't using my phone to record. What I used to think was a good outfit back in the day. Oh my gosh, my nephew, my niece, somehow they got hold of the those pictures, those rectangular like photos, and it was of me in elementary school, for like a school, like a class photo, whatever it was. Like you get dressed for that day to go take pictures.
Yeah,
you know that.
Yeah.
And I wore this like Brazil jacket, so it was just yellow and green. And when I tell you, it was like 3 times my size. But I just felt like that was the coolest jacket in the world. And now when I look at it in that photo, it's one of the most, it's just such a cringe photo. So like, even I get it,
You were the baggy guy?
Dude, I was in a private school. We had a uniform. But just that day was like, hey, come dressed up. You know what I'm saying? I would have been all better off wearing the damn uniform that day. The way that picture looked.
Yeah.
But I thought that was my best outfit.
I just realized our school kind of finessed us. Like they would say, "Oh, it's non-uniform day," but you had to pay. They'd be like, "Yo, non-uniform day is 15 reals."
Oh no, we didn't have that.
That's what I'm saying.
That's crazy.
And I just realized you just charged us to wear what we want to wear.
Got played.
That's wild.
Got played.
And so you would notice, by the way, and I'm not saying this was me some days, but sometimes non-uniform days, I'm pulling up in my uniform and I'll pretend.
Really?
Yeah, because
that's
my
crazy.
brother.
So that's pretty crazy.
It was wild. But you just made me think of that. I used to dress in I was the big baggy pants, like jeans that are way too big, pants that are way too big. And my dad didn't have a problem with that because in his mind he was like, yo, he's gonna last you sometime. To the point where like when we went to go uniform shopping, I purposely bought 2 sizes too big, like 2 sizes up, and then he would see it and he doesn't realize I already factored in my swag. I already factored in. He thought I picked out my size, and he told me go get a size bigger. I factored that in and got 2 sizes up. So when he goes, go get a size bigger, I was like, it's more swag. I went and got 3 sizes up. Wallahi, when I tell you this, when I walked in school, I walked with one hand in my pocket. 3 sizes bigger, I would put my hand in my pocket and hold up. I once had a fight with a guy. Only with one. I only had one hand to do that. And some days, like if I like need to open the door and I got something in one of my hands, I would do this trick where like I throw it up and like throw up my pants just in, you know, like you gotta spread your knees, like just to.
That's
Dude, I just wanted to look cool. But up top, I was really skinny. And you know how everyone wants to look buff? So I would wear sizes too small because I had no muscle on me. But I felt as though the tighter the shirt, the more you could see any muscle that might have been there. Yeah. So there was...
count as muscles.
Huh? What's that?
Nipples don't count as muscles.
It depends who you ask. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sure that's the only thing that was being seen through that shirt.
No, I had some collarbones. I had a few collarbones up in there. I used to hate my collar. I used to like shrug, so my shoulders looked a little bit bigger. It was stupid, but I used to walk outside in the you know, the stuff that you wear under your like soccer clothes. Like I'd wear that out. I'm serious. Like that's why I look so stupid. But
you ever seen those on YouTube? They have like those people on the green screen, like they're wearing the green suits. Like for the green, like, forget it. Like they're wearing like super spandex suits with their face covered.
Yeah. The green screen. Oh, yeah. So, and then, so another thing I was going to ask. So getting to answer the question of, can you change? Can a person change? So we already know our default settings, our issues, right? There are some people who get angry. Angers are their thing. Some people who, you know, the opposite of that, you know, might, you know, just follow the crowd and are just way too nice and just, you know, whatever your default factory setting is.
Jealousy.
Do you think do you think people could change?
100%.
100%.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Any famous examples?
Famous examples?
You want to tell the story about Umar?
Yeah, Umar al-Khattab. That's exactly what I was thinking. The way I look at it, Umar radiallahu anhu was a staunch enemy of the Prophet ﷺ. But he was so well respected and feared within the entire community. Like, you know, obviously, even think of before Islam, he had a status. And that status was don't cross Umar radiallahu anhu, right? Unless you wanted to be, leave your children and your wealth and your family.
Yeah, unless you wanted to
killed. You know what I'm saying?
After the chat, yeah.
And he was even when it comes to actual sheer size, he was a very tall person as well. So even his presence was known, and his family had say, right? And in the beginning of Islam, he wasn't paying too much attention to what the Prophet ﷺ, you know, was preaching about Islam and things like that. But eventually, he got sick and tired of it. Constant complaining of people talking about this and that and making it seem like the Prophet ﷺ is here to disrespect their ancestors and disrespect their lineage, and disrespect our lineage was huge back in the day. And so he put it in his mind that that's it. Muhammad ﷺ is no more, and I'm gonna go finish it. I'm going to go take care of essentially the problem. The problem side, yeah, the problem.
So when he decided to get rid of what he perceived as a problem, the Prophet ﷺ, well, you know, walk us through that.
Umar sets his mind. That's it. He's gonna go kill the Prophet ﷺ. Prophet ﷺ, no more. Islam, no more. I'm done with it. And he's on his way with just you can just imagine like this ferociousness, like this mindset that I'm gonna go kill somebody. And then someone stops him and is like, hey, what are you going to do? Like, where are you going in such a rush? And he tells him, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go kill the Prophet. He's like, why are you worried about the Prophet? You should be looking into your own family. And he was like, whoa, what are you talking about? Right? Like, that's deep. So now you're telling me my own family member has accepted Islam, essentially, is what he's getting. So he goes to his sister's house. And when they find out he's coming, they try to hide essentially what they had of the scripture, right? Because they knew he would just go crazy. And he barges in. One of they hide whatever the scripture it is, and he goes off, yells at them, whatever. I think even to the extent where he even laid his hand on his sister. And eventually he says, "Let me see what it is that you're essentially reading." And so she says, "No, you can't touch it because you're not pure." So he washes himself, reads it, and then now he's on his way to the Prophet. So he goes to the Prophet.
Is his intention the same?
We'll find out. So he goes, knocks on the door, and when they knew that he was there, like now again, it's Umar. It's not like just some random person that's coming from. No, this is like again a fierce warrior that's feared, and they know that he's coming. There's ill intent, right? So the Prophet says himself, I'm gonna go. Like I'm gonna answer the door. Essentially, the Prophet answers the door and grabs Umar from the collar. What do you want? Yeah, can you imagine like the Prophet just grabbing this man, just like he's coming to him at his level, right? And then essentially accepts Islam. And that was an insane, massive turning point. So if Umar can change within a day from going to, I hate this human being, I'm going to kill this human being, so now I've accepted this human being as being a prophet of Allah that I'm going to follow, right, and dedicate my life to, essentially. Anything is possible at that point, right? But I think one thing about Umar is he was sincere. Even in wanting to kill the Prophet ﷺ, he was sincerely wrong. People can be sincerely wrong.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Like you have conviction, but in the wrong thing.
In the wrong thing.
Yeah, it's like shouting. It's like shouting the wrong answer out loud. With that confidence.
Yeah, and there's like Khadim al-Walid as well. He was, how many companions of the Prophet ﷺ did he kill, right, in battle and so on and so forth? A lot. But he did all of that sincerely thinking he was on the truth and they were on the wrong. And Allah guided him. And then he took that sincerity of truth and now did exactly what he was doing before the Muslims. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So since I think sincerity
is the key.
Is the key for change.
You know, it's funny. There was a story that I remember seeing on a podcast. There was you know, the dude that plays Iron Man. So
the older guy, right? The little goatee. Forgot his name.
Yeah. Something Jr. Was it Robert something?
Oh yes, Downey.
Robert Downey Jr. Yeah, that's him. So he plays Iron Man, and the funny thing is, like, he used to be a drug addict, like huge drug addict, in and out of jail and stuff.
Is he real life?
Yeah, this is real life. This is like in real life. Yeah. Now imagine Iron Man with a drug problem. It's over. You know. No, he had a problem with drugs, and he's in and out of jail, violence and all that. And there's one time he had a car full of drugs, and he went and stopped at Burger King. And I don't know if you heard the story, but he stopped at Burger King and he ordered a burger just to eat. And the burger was so bad that he decided to turn his life around. That was his rock bottom. That he got back into his car, drove to a nearby river, and threw all his drugs into it.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, like, bro, like, jail wasn't like rock bottom. Like, your rock bottom is where you find it. And that's like, to me, like, how bad was that burger? You know how I'm assuming how good drugs feel like to people who are addicted? Like, that burger had to be disgusting. Like,
I think it's, sometimes we always look at that moment and we forget the thousands of moments that led up to that point. Like, that was the tipping point. That wasn't the point. It was the tipping point. It's like that picture where you see the guy who's digging for diamonds or gold.
Yeah.
And then it's like right there, but you stop. If he had done one more was it the result of just that one more that really got him there, or was it the thousands that he did, but he just didn't give up? Yeah. But in this case, it's not like you're searching for something. In his case, it was like you were fed up with something.
Yeah.
So he went through all of those different things, but it was that one that was just like the tipping point of the whole thing, right?
Yeah. You just think about that, like the you know how they say, like you try to figure out what everybody's like moment of like where they change their life. I'm thinking like, dude, imagine you're that fast food worker. You made Iron Man, dog. Like behind every strong man is a shitty minimum wage employee
or a bad burger.
It's a bad burger or a shitty minimum wage employee. Like you are the reason
everyone's gonna start spitting in burgers.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Burn them.
No, I hope you make it to Marvel. Like I sincerely
best wishes.
Best wishes. But that was funny to me because like people could change and find that moment. But so we spoke about default settings. We spoke about the the idea of like, can somebody change, and stories of people who change. And if I look back at my own life, like I'm not trying to brag, but my pants fit now. You know what I'm saying? Like I changed a little bit, here and there. I saw bad habits in myself. I think everyone, even the people who listen, can honestly say that there are some things that they have definitely improved on, and they're so happy that they got past that. But we still sort of look at like who we want to be in the future, and we think that there's just so much land to cover. But we've answered, the basic question of yes, you can change. But now it's, well, how? And some of those things, I wanted to run by the example that I found in his khutbah, in this lecture, where he mentions there's 4 types of people. So the first of which, they don't change. They choose, not to. But he used a scenario. So if you can imagine, there's a town, a village or something. Right? There's a town, and nearby there's some water source. And every year that town floods. Every year. That group of people who don't do anything, they just say, it's flood season. Well, what you want me to do? It's flood season. You know what I'm saying? And then you get the other 3 people who are actually trying to change. So the first one, they board up everything. They build walls. They try to keep all water out. And what happens is the pressure just builds and eventually just does even more damage than the previous years to the town. And that's sort of comparative to like that person that keeps their anger in all day, every day, and then one time you just say something to them and they snap.
Or just avoiding doing things at all costs, and it piles up
on them, and now they're like, it could be even with health. Like you're just like, yo, I wanted to work out 4 years ago, and now like I'm choosing which leg I want to keep because man has just lost the plot. So it gets that bad. And then the second, so that's from the 3 people who do change. That's the first. The second would be the people who try to figure out the why in everything. So if you can imagine, these people are like, yo, where's this water coming from? I'm gonna go find it and stop it at the source. And they go, never come back. They just lose themselves in there for whatever reason. And that's synonymous with, somebody they don't really get anything done. They try to psychoanalyze everything, but they don't actually do the work. And this reminds me, I was in class, bro. I was studying with these guys, and we got a final in maybe 2 days, or it's a while now. So I don't know if we had it in 2 days or a day, the day after the day we chose to study. And instead of saying something like, okay, we're studying physics, let's start chapter 14. This is the equation. This is how we got to apply it. This guy goes, so in the beginning, there was gravity. And he starts like breaking down the equations. I'm like, brother, they're not asking us to write an essay on everything that's in the equation. They're asking us to use it for something. So I'm like, why are you trying to psychoanalyze and like derive all these equations that they gave to you? It's like that person who tries to figure out every little object and where this comes from, and what trauma happened when I was younger that made me the way I am. I'm not saying there's absolutely zero good in those things, but come on, brother. Yeah. We only got 60, 70, and maybe 80 years if we're lucky on this planet, like get to work. So that's the second people. And then the third are the righteous ones, the ones who are doing it correctly. They're the ones like, listen, we're not going to board this up. This is something that happens. And we're not going to try to, we can't like make ourselves not human, right? By, curbing desires completely. And we're not going to be those people that try to sit here and try to figure out why 12%. Instead, we're going to accept it and say, okay, well, how do we minimize damage and maximize benefit? And so what they did is when it flooded, they built channels so that all the water got rerouted to their farmland and actually grew their crops as opposed to destroying their village. And that's a perfect way to live your life. So if you're a person who, might get upset or there are ways to channel these things for good, right? There's a lot of people who may be unmarried and they're finding it challenging, staying away from the opposite sex. Well, once you do get married, I mean, that's why marriage is prescribed for you. We're not saying curb that desire altogether. There's a way to channel it into what is beneficial. Exactly. So I thought about that with everything. Like when you get frustrated or whatever, there's always, there's brothers that we know that work kind of like crazy because of that. There's, I like going for walks. I like having, you got to have something that you do just for you. And that could be anything to sort of let out steam. But yeah, I wanted to tell you that example. And what do you think about it?
I think it's a good example. I think it's a great example of just understanding that life isn't perfect. There are certain personality traits that we have that to a certain extent was not under our control because of the way we were raised. I mean, we all were raised in different circumstances, so we're wired differently and we handle things differently. The question is, how can we use that to our advantage versus complaining about it all the time? And in some cases, that might be, if you grew up in a house where you felt, now you become easily angered, right? Because of certain things. And how are you going to channel that for your own benefit? If you grew up in a household that was constant. So there's always a benefit, but I think the core, for me, the foundation for all of that is that concept of just sincerity, which is the most difficult thing. It's something that we're going to fight. I'm going to fight till we go to the grave. But if we try to be intentional with what we're doing versus just robotically doing things or just doing things as people are doing it, and we ask ourselves, okay, I'm doing this, why? So to your point of the second guy, but not too much.
Yeah.
But just like, for example, us right now, like, why are we doing this podcast? There needs to be an intentionality behind it. There needs to be a level of sincerity behind it.
That helps with consistency, right?
I think it definitely helps with consistency. It helps with consistency, and I think it helps with actually seeing results. Because at the end of the day, I go back to wanting to please Allah. And Allah will put barakah in something, or will at least allow you to reap rewards when you're sincere. They were sincere in what they thought was right. Allah guided them to what was right because of that sincerity. So you can do something sincerely and you think this is the right thing, and it's not. But because of your sincerity, Allah will guide you to the right thing. You see what I'm saying? So you're sincerely trying to please Allah, and you sincerely think this is going to please Allah. And that can be in anything, working out, this, that, whatever. I try to connect it back to ultimately that's my purpose.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter what you do if it's not connected back to what your ultimate purpose was.
Yeah. It's hard to stick to. I think that's why when I tried to start, or we tried to start like multiple businesses, I mean, I think the idea was correct, but the idea was too vague. So like when we started the 3 company, we said, okay, we're trying to earn money to support our families. That's great. That's very, very vague. Okay, what are you willing to do to do those things? If we dig a little deeper and we ask ourselves, well, what tools has Allah given me that would make this journey or this thing easier, right? Did Allah give me a specific degree that they are paying people to work with in order to provide? Well, then maybe I should go do that, because that's all Allah gave me. It's at my disposal. if you're funny, if you're, really inclined to working out and you may want to be a fitness instructor, whatever it is that's at your disposal that you can do. But if you just have this vague idea of, I want to make money too, you are going to be doing everything. Brother, I don't know nothing about cars, and I'll think about, maybe I can flip cars. Like, I pay to get my oil changed. Like, what do I know about flipping cars? But it's too vague. And rooting it back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yes, that's key. I think you got to ask yourself, exactly what did Allah give you that could make that job easy for you? Because He didn't just put you down here with zero direction and tools and resources to get it done. So,
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. So some people might have gone through something that it makes it very difficult for them to even take the first step to change.
Yeah.
And I thought about some advice that I would have liked to hear for whatever minimum trauma I might have had. And other than the fact that, like, your memory gets distorted. I remember it might have been you who told me there was like this thing on Netflix that showed how memory works over time, and you can imagine over the course of 10 years what that memory actually was.
Yeah,
it's insane, right? I think it was you, right? You told me about this.
Yeah, every time this is what could happen is that every time you remember that memory, it actually becomes a new memory. Like something changes and shifts, and then you think that was the actual thing, but it's actually completely different than what the original memory was.
What the original memory was. And so even if that's not the case, if someone did something to you, it's not, I'm not here to tell somebody to forgive that other person. That's not my place. But at least forgive you that yourself, or what you feel like you endured and accepted, or even did, if you were the one that was at the party at fault here. There is no productive way to live your life if those things are not sort of curbed. And I used to love hearing this, but there was a speech I heard that said, every problem you've had before today is now done. And that's it. No ifs, buts, ands. We don't speak about the problems from the past, and it's very hard to do. But you just accept that, hey, where I am is where I am. What happened, and now it's on to the next. But I've noticed that actually, by the way, some trauma is actually positive stuff. Some people are victims of their past success. There are some people who was like so popular in high school, still live in high school mentally. Like they still live there, right? There are some people who like might have been like very wealthy at some point in their life, and now they feel like their identity has been stripped of them because they lost it. People who've lost family members, and that was their whole life, whether it be a spouse or a child or what have you, or lost a job that they went to school for 10 years to get and suddenly got laid off or something. You can be victim of anything, your success and your failure. So, but prayers to those people, and if you have a word of advice, and we can wrap it up.
I think you hit the nail on the head. My advice wouldn't be to the person going through the trauma. My advice would be to the people that are around that person that witnessed the trauma, or that feel that person is off. Reach out. I think sometimes all it takes is for someone to reach their hand out to help someone get out of that trauma. Sometimes you just need someone to hear you. You just need someone to guide you. You just need someone to say, I feel you, I understand, but let's go. And so for the person that is around there and you're in a good place, be vigilant. When you're hanging out with people, when you're at the masjid, when you're at wherever it is that you're at, it doesn't matter. Be aware of your surroundings and the people and what they're going through. And then, hey, are you okay? Is everything good? And sometimes you will be on the receiving end of that, and you will need it one day. But just don't forget, when times are good, don't forget to extend that hand out, and you'll be surprised how many people may open up and just say like, yeah, like boom, 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 boom. So
yeah, man, prayers to those people, and it's a good episode, man. I really liked it.
What's up?
So yes, sir. That was
Yeah, indeed.
Another episode of Road Back Home.
Sir.
Check us out. Sorry, though.
Type thing.